Riv. I'm here with EnVyUs Apollo, who's off to a great start in 2017 after a dominating Week 1 performance.
And at the end of the week, Apollo sits atop the tables with 3 Player of the...
Another team and another dominant season for Reignover. This time without Huni.
우리 못 막는 발언이잖아. 너 그냥 이거 바텀 쭉 밀고.
Top die, Nexus die, Cloud9
has to go.
High with the solo kill
Got it.
outplay.
FlyQuest with another win.
Off the backs of Ryu and Arrow, an amazing early season for Phoenix 1.
Blooper with another huge game pushes Echo Fox into the playoffs.
This move is really working out for Team Dignitas. Someday, it's looking better than ever.
Thanks, Riv. I'm here with Pobelter after leading his team to their first ever LCS Finals.
For Darshan, the hard work pays off.
CLG back on top of the North American LCS once again.
Ladies and gentlemen, your 2017 Spring Champions here in Vancouver. Welcome back to opening weekend of the 2017 North American LCS Spring Split here in our brand new Battle Arena. Plenty of fans have packed in for this very first weekend of the North American LCS. Of course, competitive League of Legends is underway across the globe right now. However, earlier today, we did see Matt with his new teammates loading in for the first match of the day. Of course, now Reignover on Team Liquid. They're high in FlyQuest, though. They arrived ready to make the team's NA LCS debut. Not the debut for many of those players, though. And CLG filing in to prep for their match against Team Liquid. A big day of games today. Hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson. Joining me today is none other than Mark Zimmerman. We invited you back for another year.
Yeah, somehow. I don't know why you guys did that, but
Look,
now
I did everything in my power to keep you away from here.
yeah, it didn't work, and I'm back, and I'm not leaving.
I like that, though. All right, here we go. We're moving into the season. A ton of new changes have hit the league, including a brand new studio. As I mentioned earlier, here you can see how many people it takes to put together a production like this, and we have an amazing team of people behind us that make this all possible.
And yet somehow you get all the credit. I don't know why it works that way, but
I'm doing my best to give some credit to others right now, Mark.
I was actually in the studio last night watching the P1 Echo Fox series, and it looks great, it sounds great, it's just crazy. The fans are going crazy for P1 in particular. There's the owner leading all the chants. It was really exciting to be there.
Yeah, I love the colors, nice contrast. Even the blue on blue here in the way it looks in the arena. Also the fact that the players are facing in a little bit more, so it feels a little bit more of like a
Kill
death
someone,
match.
make some eye contact.
Exactly. We got some room for some trash talk and maybe some celebration. Who knows what's coming our way. Let's talk about some of the biggest storylines, though, moving in on the season. Most of these teams should look familiar to you guys at home, with 8 returning from last season. Now, Team Dignitas returns to the North American LCS after a short hiatus and have merged with Apex, while Cloud9 Challenger has joined the league under the FlyQuest banner.
Right, and even though you might look at these rosters and see a lot of returning faces and names, there's actually been a lot of turnover behind the scenes as well, with a number of Korean coaches coming in to help with the Dignitas team, as well as the Korean player imports as well. So there's a lot being tied in there.
Yeah, old faces return. These players, though, have swapped rosters and now play for different teams. Notable ones?
Of course, you got to look at Reignover and Dardoch. I think just the fact that they basically swapped organizations is going to set up a huge clash later in the season when these guys eventually play. But, of course, there's just a couple switches all over the place. Turtle to TSM, going home. Those kinds of storylines are all great to follow.
Right, having to fill double lift shoes here. And then, of course, you've got people like Adrian, who's been, on a number of different teams and found some individual success, still looking for that NALCS title, perhaps. Almost every team has picked up new players, and the majority coming in to North America from other regions.
Yeah, and a majority coming into the top lane. I think it's crazy to think that in 2017 we have some of the greatest Korean top laners ever to play just taking taking to the stage here in NA. It's going to be exciting to see. We got Flame, Looper, Someday, all just monsters in their own right.
I mean, I know a lot of people on entry here are saying that Someday could be in contention for best player in the league, you know, up against the likes of Bjergsen. Hasn't even played a game yet, but that's the kind of pedigree of some of these players coming in from other regions. We do have some fresh North American talent, though, with Acadian, Cody Sun, and Contracts joining the NA LCS. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, both Acadian and Contracts had their first games last night. They looked really good individually, and that's really nice to see. Of course, only Contracts picked up the win, and Cody Sun's going to make his debut today, see if he can follow in the other rookie shoes.
Very much so. Now, before we get into today's action, let's go ahead and check up on the results from last night. Cloud9 bested reigning champions TSM to take home the first victory of 2017, and Phoenix One was able to defeat Echo Fox to earn a spot at the top of the table. Obviously, not a whole lot has occurred. We're going to have a lot more standings changing at the end of today. They'll soon be joined by other squads competing today, so let's take a look at what's in store. Counterlogic Gaming faces off against Team Liquid on NALCS 1 before Echo Fox plays their second match of the split against Immortals later in the day. EnVy takes on FlyQuest in the first match on NALCS 2, and then the Battle Theater plays host to Team Dignitas and Phoenix One. So we got 4 big matches today. What are you most excited for?
I'm looking forward to Team Liquid versus CLG, mostly because CLG is one of the only people playing today who has most of their lineup returning from last season, and they're going to be a good litmus test for a lot of teams over the course of the season, this time being Team Liquid, having gotten Rain over, bringing Golden Glue up, bringing Paylet back. It's going to be a great test to them to see where exactly they stand, because you know CLG is going to be top half of the split, and that's where you're going to want to end up, so you got to beat them.
Kind of grateful that we have at least one team that has kept their full roster, so that we do have a little bit of a bar, a metric for a lot of these roster moves in determining how good any of these teams are, the relative power level here in the new split. Now, with all of that said, it's about time for us to get and do our first couple games of the day, so we're going to send it over to our casters to get us into the match.
Thank you, Dash. Welcome, everyone. I am Sam Kobe Hartman Kensler, and I'm stealing this introduction to introduce the newest addition to the North American LCS casting crew. This is Clayton Captain Flowers Reigns. Welcome, Captain Flowers.
Thank you very much, Kobe. I appreciate the introduction. Oh, you gotta be kidding. Where's that? Hey, there we go.
All right,
fantastic.
that's enough of that. What is your favorite flower?
My favorite flower? Now, do you mean a type of flower or a flower specifically? Because I'm very fond of the one in the League of Legends client itself, the one that's going to be the icon, the rose. I'm a big fan of the rose.
Good answer. All right, let's get into the games then. That's enough about you.
The games themselves, we are gearing up for our very first series of the day here in the Battle Theater. Team EnVy versus FlyQuest. Team EnVy returned to the LCS for their sophomore split and are coming into 2017 with a few additions to the roster. Sadly, Lady Luck is not on their side today, and this week they're going to be playing with substitute Alex Each, which means Ninja is going to be taken over in the jungle.
Exactly. And remember, yeah, he's technically at the jungle spot now. Either one of those guys could play in the jungle. They're both mid laners, though, so whichever one does might be feeling a bit uncomfortable. EnVy, though, they've always been sort of a wild card team for picks and bans, and there's going to be a lot of things to, you know, keep your mind on. Now, EnVy, they did keep 3/5 of their roster. We're going to have Ninja returning, like you just said, and really importantly is going to be Seraph. He's the shot caller for the team, going to have the whole game plan from the top lane. Now, each of them, they also had the most champion diversity, that is Ninja and Seraph, by the way, in 2016. Those guys, for their roles, most different played champions. Now, under the 10-ban system, as we said, they did a lot of flex picking and some odd champion selects last year. That could work to their favor this year, because now there are 10 bans, 2 ban phases. Flex picks in the first phase are very powerful. They could trick their opponents and pull out something special.
This new draft could definitely bring some new surprises to the table, but FlyQuest is the newest addition to the league. But despite being a brand new organization, the roster itself is not exactly brand new. We've got a lot of familiar names here. 3/5 of the old Cloud9 roster, that tried and true team that played together for such a long time, are going to be returning to the LCS with High, Balls, and Lemon Nation all working together again.
I mean, High on your screen there a moment before. We just can't get rid of this guy. He's too good at League of Legends. He's a shot caller. He's played 3 different roles professionally. He's back to mid lane, and he definitely has a lot of fans here in the audience today. Now, also remember, though, that team is being filled out with other post-LCS players. Altec and Moon both have already played in the LCS and are going to round out this entirely North American roster, the only one of those entirely North American rosters.
True hometown team.
Exactly. Now, Envy, they are going to be playing without their intended jungler, as we said. I mean, Lero is one of the high-profile pickups that Seraph was super happy about. Is a big part of this team. Now, you know, a wrench has been thrown into the cogs there, and they do have to play with their sub, one of these mid laners as the jungler. That may be an opening for Moon, who is a guy who got a lot of flack last time he was in the LCS, to have a big debut here. So we're looking for him to step up.
We'll have to see if he can manage to pull that off for himself and his team. But for now, let's jump right into the starting lineups. First up, it's Team Envy with Seraph in the top lane. Ninja's going to be rocking the jungle today with Alex Each in the mid lane, Apollo bottom, Hakuo going to be supporting him, and of course, the leader behind it all, Dylan Falco on coach.
And on the red side, it's FlyQuest. Up top is Balls. In the jungle, Moon. Mid-high, 80 carry. In the bottom lane is Altec. Support is Lemonation. And Coach Thinkcard is with the squad. Now, we mentioned, you know, High, Lemonation, and Balls. Those guys have been together for so long. Thinkcard has actually been coaching them for a while as well. So we talk about 10-ban system. Having that coach for a long period of time, having a coach that knows your players and your champion pools and their personalities, their play styles does help a lot because you have only 30 seconds for each of those picks to decide as well.
Absolutely. The time for each phase of the new champion select is slightly shorter to make sure that the entire thing isn't elongated a lot, but there's so much opportunity for these teams and these coaches and these decision makers to have so much more of an impact on the game with this new pick and ban system.
I mean, yeah, people are already excited for the champion diversity that we've seen because of the pick bans, but these two teams specifically, High plays, you know, he was the AP Kennen in the mid lane. We've seen a whole bunch of it.
Oh, yeah.
He likes to play a bunch of assassins. He can play some weird assassins as well. And then Ninja last year, as we said, just all over the place. So I'm very, very excited, you know, to see what direction they go with, because they could also just go straight down the tier list and, you know, ban out Camille, LeBlanc, Rengar, just like everybody else has, or you know, we can get a little special flavor.
When you have such a deep champion pool, and you know, sometimes you see criticisms of different players or different teams for not having a deep enough pool. These guys have a champion ocean. We saw Seraph and we saw Ninja in the previous split, in the previous season, have such amazing champion diversity. And being able to flex that diversity here in this new system means all sorts of new doors and avenues are going to be opening up for you. So many different possibilities that might not be available to a different team that doesn't have so much that they could possibly be picking from. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they use that as an advantage.
Definitely true. Plus, of course, both of these teams have had new players moved into the rosters, as Moon was added pretty late since contracts got called up basically to the main Cloud9 roster. So you'll always keep an eye on how the communication is with the new players and how the team synergy is going to be. Very similar situation here. Envy with, you know, that pickup. Even though Alex was already the standing sub on this team, so you know he has had contact and play with these guys, but intended role for subbing in is definitely the mid lane, and now we're going to have our eyes on Ninja from the jungle. So definitely a lot of things, a lot of pre-excuses maybe for not performing at your peak right off the bat.
And one thing I want to go ahead and let everybody have a quick update on, whether you're in the audience at home or in the audience here in the Battle Theater, we are just going to be jumping into Champion Select in a few moments here, just taking care of a little bit of preparation there behind the scenes, but we'll be jumping into the action as soon as we possibly can, so hang tight. It's going to be there in just a moment as we continue to build up the excitement for what is going to be this match. I mean, this is, like we said, FlyQuest's first showing here in the LCS. Obviously, you know, we've seen them all before, but under this brand, right? Under that new FlyQuest emblem, this is the
flying
first time
eyeball.
Yeah, the flying eyeball of FlyQuest, Fly High. Leading the team, of course. This is a team that a lot of people are excited about. We talked about, and you've seen the fan reactions. When we even mention High, people are excited. They want to see him play. They want to see this team play, and they're excited to see what these guys can do now here in 2017 to kick off a new season.
Yeah, definitely a lot of veteran players on both of these teams. You know, the Cloud9 guys have a lot of legacy fans as well that have been following for a long time. You mentioned High, but you know, Lemonation as actually one of the most popular gifts on the internet in all of esports. Meanwhile, Team Envy, you know, not only do they have the players that you recognize from last year, but the coach we talked about.
Right.
Dylan has actually moved over. You know, he has a very good record. He coached TSM during a very successful season. He coached Immortals most recently. And even though they, you know, stumbled in playoffs, they had a very successful regular season.
Phenomenal,
so,
really.
You know, the coaching staff that we do have this magnifying glass on for the new pick bands, both of them are well equipped, and both the coaches are actually fairly seasoned as well.
Not to mention Lemon Nation. We've seen his prowess in the past.
The notebook.
The notebook, exactly. Lemon Nation's secret bag of tricks for mastering the champion select phase, the drafting process. And like we mentioned earlier, how that's so much more important now. It's so much more complex now. I'm excited to see what he's got tucked up his sleeves to really make that one a home run.
Definitely agree there. It looks like no notebook on display at the moment. I think Card's going to be holding that one, I guess. But yeah, I'm definitely curious.
Lemon's got it all up here.
Because initially we thought that EnVy were going to be running Alex in the jungle as their sub, and he was just going to fill in the spot that was open. You know, a lot of these guys, especially mid laners, do have to play an off role, at least in solo queue, because you get autofilled the most.
Everybody wants
as mid lane. Yeah, mid lane is the most popular role or most picked role for mid lane, so it gets autofilled the most. But now they made that last minute switch where now Ninja is jungling. It makes me think that Ninja has a specific champion that he has been practicing. You know, we have seen things like Rumble in the jungle. AP things can be played there as well. Just a champion that he's comfortable on in a different setting.
Yeah, it's something that it should be fun to see if he really does have a trick plan for what's going to be happening there. But for now, we got a little something else ready for you guys.
Thanks, guys. So Jat here with Azale. We wanted to take a moment to kind of go a little bit more in depth on a pick ban phase, just because 10-ban system, a lot is different.
Yeah, there really is a lot of difference. And to me, the most important part really is the inflection point where the second bans do come in. And what makes it so interesting to me is that you can adapt your pick and ban phase, and you can also kind of disrupt your opponents.
Yeah, and we actually want to go through an example that happened in TSM versus C9, the first game of the North American LCS split, just to talk through some of the decisions that both TSM and C9 had to make during this. So if we can go straight into the first ban phase, this is where technically the least would have changed from the year before. I believe it was a Rengar first ban by TSM, and that was the surprising thing. That's the main surprising thing, because a lot of times we're seeing the kind of super OP champions being banned, which is LeBlanc, Camille, and Rengar, but this opened things up just a little bit.
Yeah, it certainly did. And I mean, obviously a respect ban on Lee Sin there, but then we can get right into the first round of picks, because this is where things do start to really shape up. Obviously, the big power here for Blue Side is going to be getting first pick, and Maokai has been someone who has really been highly prioritized so far this split across all regions. But the inflection points really start to come out when you have differences in the drafts. So you have a top laner for TSM, you have an AD for C9, and now they can start to look to squeeze out their opponents in the champion pool.
And this is what we talk about when there's more target banning, so to speak, in this new draft phase, because since there was the Kazakhs picked right here early on by Cloud9, TSM almost had to pick the Rek'Sai in fear of having it banned out here. But with that, that just meant when we went to phase 2, it made it fairly easy for Cloud9 to just ban out 2 AD carries. They banned Varus and Jhin. Meanwhile, TSM was trying to starve out Impact, and this is how you can see people's bigger champion pools. Arguably, the Olaf ban could have been top lane. Also, the Camille's a top lane ban. They picked a top laner. They banned 2 more top laners. They're essentially pushing him to like top laner number 6 and hoping to make him struggle in this game.
Yep, and what he does end up going to is the Shen. And unfortunately for TSM, Impact, even on that 6th top laner, was quite effective. And that is, as you said, the benefit of being able to play all these different champions. And Wild Turtle, on the other hand, he was relegated to the Kalista. And even though he did get some early kills, he was never able to really get involved, never able to kind of put out a lot of damage in these team fights, because he just kind of had a tough time on this champion.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting to point out here is both TSM and C9 had a lot of choices in this draft. If TSM would have put Svenskeren on a less favorable matchup, and they would have picked a Varus or a Jhin where they picked that Rek'Sai, these bans would have changed to junglers, and then you potentially would have seen Svenskeren have the poor game. So it's really interesting, I feel like, the choices that these players get to make in the new draft.
Yeah, it is super interesting. I love the fact that it's not only about the roles, but also about the players that the coaches are having to take into consideration. So I really excited to see how this shapes up for the rest of the season.
Yeah, 10 bans isn't going anywhere. We're going to be seeing it for the rest of the LCS split. Hope to like it.
Chat and Azale, ladies and gentlemen, breaking down some of the new behind-the-scenes mechanics to the drafting, exactly what teams are going to be looking to do, and what kind of an edge they're going to be looking to find over their opponents before Summoner's Rift even starts.
Yeah, that's what we're kind of alluding to with the extra power that does come with the history of very large champion pools for multiple players in this game. And one of the things that they went over there were talking about those top 3 champions of Camille, Rengar, and LeBlanc.
They're so big right now.
They're actually 100% pick ban for Rengar and Camille in all leagues, and then LeBlanc is 100% pick ban in every league except for the LPL.
The LPL does crazy stuff, though. The LPL, they can be the exception. The LPL is known to sometimes really try something new and innovative, and apparently not picking or banning LeBlanc 100% of the time right now is innovative enough.
And I think that actually Rise is very close to this tier because everybody's pretty concrete on those 3, but Rise also for me is right up there with them. The only problem there is that Cassiopeia is a good champion that you can play into Rise and definitely is not worthy of a ban. So you have to worry a little bit about small things like that. But even in that case, it's not like it's a super hard counter or anything. Just a good matchup into it. So that's another thing to keep your eyes on as well.
And one thing, just a little bit of numbers to throw at you guys during this downtime, is that, yes, the Camille and the Rengar are 100% banned, banned or picked, I should say. LeBlanc is very close, and Rise is actually just slightly behind LeBlanc. But the biggest difference is LeBlanc has very few picks compared to bans, still mostly banned away. Rise is about half and half, so he's getting through the ban phase a lot more frequently.
Yeah, he's definitely the one that has been getting through. Definitely a lot of variation that we can see from the mid lane, and it's fun to theory craft about. But as Azale and Jat were talking about, one of the smaller champion pools is actually the AD carry at the moment, because AD carries right now, if they get behind, have such a hard time.
AD carry,
the Ashe and the Varus, as well as Jhin and Ezreal, a little bit below those 2, have really risen to the top. So the Ashe and the Varus very clearly both bring a lot of this crowd control. Plus, they're also quite good in the lane. So those 2, if you get to pick one and then ban out more AD carries in the second phase, can be a huge swing. And that's one of the roles that you have to watch out for in the new pick ban system.
So many things to watch out for. But while we work out the issue that's going on stage, we're going to send things over to Dash and Mark on the analyst desk. Take it away, guys.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. As can be expected sometimes on the first day of games, there are some technical issues that we got to work through, but that, of course, gives us time to hypothesize about these teams that we've never seen play before. So let's do exactly that. Envy versus FlyQuest here. I think the most obvious topic of discussion is the fact that Alex Each will be playing in place of Lyra today, so we're not going to get a glimpse of the full Envy roster just yet.
Yeah, and it's a little disappointing because Lyra really is that big offseason acquisition that they had. Everyone wants to see the impact that he's going to have on that team. He's expected to be an extremely aggressive player, take over the game in the early game, really get stuff going for the team. And without him, it's a little concerning about what's going to happen. But you have to look at FlyQuest and think that this is a great game for them to kind of hit their groove in the LCS, get stage jitters out of the way. They come in kind of as the favorites now, especially with Lyra being out. So I think that's what I'm going to look for, is to see how clean FlyQuest can look. Or, if Envy surprises, I mean, that's the other story too. It's just like, how good can this team be once they get their whole roster?
Right. It's an interesting setup because we got Seraph and we got Ninja. We got some of the mainstays of Envy who, those guys were solid performers for the team last year, right? And then it's a question of, all right, when they do get the new roster with Lyra, they've got Apollo. Apollo's no, novice. He's no stranger.
He's been around the rodeo a couple times.
He's no stranger to professional League of Legends. Like, this could actually be a very solid roster once they have a little bit of time to sync up with each other. But then on the other side of the table here, you've got FlyQuest, which has 3 members of the old Cloud9 in
the
Balls,
legendary roster.
Yeah, Lemon and High. So like, these guys, you have to imagine have so much inbuilt synergy at this point that even if they had taken hiatuses and breaks from playing with each other, that kind of getting back to that gelled point won't be as difficult for them. I mean, you've got Alta, right? You've got these guys who are very used to playing with them. As I'm talking, I've got to welcome in the other stream. That's the CLG Team Liquid game that's going. We're in a bit of a technical break here, so Mark and I are just talking a little bit about the FlyQuest and Envy matchup that's taking place as well today. And in that discussion, we're talking about the veterans of Cloud9, the old Cloud9 now, taking the helm here for FlyQuest.
Right. It just sounds funny to call FlyQuest a new team in that sense, where it's like a lot of these guys have been playing forever. Even Moon, to an extent, has had multiple splits in the LCS, multiple teams, and so even though it is this new team, it's a lot of old players, though some of them their first time together.
Right, combined experience across both teams is actually pretty significant here. Of course, they're all just working with each other, you know, in these five-man rosters for the first time. I guess my question to you then would be, given this fact and given the fact that we have not a whole lot of data for these teams prior to today, what are going to be the key elements that you're looking for in both of these teams to kind of prove to you that they can at least compete towards maybe that middle echelon or upper echelon of teams throughout the season?
Right, well, looking at FlyQuest first, I think everyone assumes, you know, you have High, he's going to be an amazing shot caller, and so assuming that the mechanical skill is there to keep up with some of the higher tier teams that we're expecting to see, that his late game shot calling will win them some games. And I think when they match up against a team like Envy, a team that we expect them to not necessarily struggle with as much as they might against some of the other teams, we want to see them get out of the laning phase, even or ahead, and then really snowball that lead with that shot calling that we expect them to have. And if the shot calling is not there, then that's one of the strengths that we assume they have that they don't. So on the FlyQuest side, that's what I'm looking for, is a lot of good plays in the mid and late game.
Yeah, over on Envy's side, of course, when Lyra does make his entrance into the LCS, I'll be very curious to see how that top trio works together, because again, with a solid jungler behind both Ninja and Seraph, I'll be curious to see if they can really control that top side of the map and win their games through them, as opposed to having to do it through the ADC position, which at the moment is playing more of a utility role anyway.
Right, and I think, you know, during last season we saw when they had Proxen, the top side of the map actually in the first half of the split looked really, really good, and Law was playing well, and then there were some struggles that happened to the latter half of the season. But if they can reclaim that form from the first half of the season, and Lyra is an upgrade over Proxen, he's able to get even more done on the map in the early game, this is a team that can actually come out and compete for some playoffs positioning. And I think the problem is, of course, that they don't have Lyra right now, so you can't look and say, how is this going to play with this new jungler? You want to look at the rest of the map. And I think we've seen a lot of crazy counter picks generally out of Seraph and Ninja. They had the biggest champ pools during the summer split, and so with the 10-ban system, you look at that and you think, that should be pretty good for them.
Right, that makes it very exciting to think that Seraph might have the opportunity to really dig deep into his champion pool and test some other people in their champion pools at the same time. Now, since we've got both audiences with us, we might as well talk about CLG Team Liquid a little bit as well. At the very beginning of the day, you mentioned kind of how exciting it is that CLG didn't make any roster changes, so that we have one team to, you know, to pair against everyone else and say, all right, how good are they?
C9 TSM played yesterday, so what would be the other litmus test teams? Or, you know, they already played once.
Exactly. And so today we've got Team Liquid versus CLG. What are your thoughts on this matchup specifically?
I think this matchup's a really interesting one, just because CLG is a team that they have like almost a complete roster in the sense that they have very capable carries. I know people like to bag on Huhi, but I think he's just like a great role player. You don't look at him to like stomp his lane. He makes the necessary map plays, and that's what he's really good at. You have a great coach in Tony, so they have everything working. They have the synergy from the past season, whereas Team Liquid, like new support staff, like they got their bot lane back, but they had time apart. New mid laner, Rainover's new, and like Lorlo is going to have to build synergy with all of that.
Right.
So in that sense, you're looking at this like one of the most consistent teams with one of the teams with a lot of turnover, and it's just a great way to see how they stack up.
Well, you mentioned Piglet returning to the main roster here for Team Liquid. I want to kind of expand that discussion to include all the ADCs. Let's talk about a bit of a tier list, maybe a preseason tier list here, Mark, that you've established. So we're going to pull this up and going to work through it. Talk to me about the ADCs this year in the NALCS.
Well, so I want to start with the assumption that we're talking about the current meta, where utility AD carries are kind of king, where you see a lot of Jhin, Varus, Ashe, and all of them. You know, not every AD carry actually plays that role well. Some of them, like a Piglet type player, will want to take over the laning phase, and these are not the ideal champions to do that with. So players like him, I would rate a little lower than, you know, what their skill might initially make you think, as well as any struggles that might happen with the fact that they don't have any synergy yet. A lot of like someone like Arrow coming over doesn't have a ton of synergy with his bot lane, where he's used to playing in a fully Korean system. So there's those kinds of things that you would need to take into account.
All right, so from memory here, walk me through the list as you would have it. What's your A tier?
So my A tier would be Sneaky and Stixxay. We've seen them succeed in multiple metas. They love the utility AD carries. If it ever changes up back to more carry-oriented, we've seen them perform on Callista and things like that. So those two would be my A tier. And then my B tier would be both Piglet and Arrow, both with the abilities to fluctuate a fair amount depending on if Piglet can reestablish that synergy in a meta that he's not exactly comfortable in.
Right.
Whereas Arrow is in a great meta for him, but we haven't seen him kind of in North America yet. He's always been in Korea, and he played with Score and Someday, two of the best players in their positions in the world, and he's going to have a lot more focus on him here. So you see the green indicates a likelihood to move up in my mind, and a red a likelihood to move down. So like I said, Arrow, we saw a great performance out of him last night. As we see more of that, expect him to join the others in the A tier. Piglet, we haven't seen much out of him, but I'm a little concerned based off what we saw at IEM, where he was struggling in lane, having kind of weird picks where he was really trying to force Vayne and things like that. And then as we keep moving down, we reach the C tier. Laud is a player who, when you compare to other people in that C grouping, actually has a lot more carry potential in my mind, where when things go right, I think he can take over games, which a lot of these other guys are more role players in that sense. So I think Laud, if Dig does well and they pull a lot of pressure on the top side, or even if something goes well for them in the bot lane, I think he actually has a good chance to carry. And then in the D tier, it's a lot of unknowns, people that we haven't seen yet, Cody's son, things like that. And
exactly.
Some people who are struggling in the past,
All right, but of course, I think it's very interesting. I think Piglet, we heard Zyrene talk about it in a video package that we watched a little bit earlier, is going to be one of those players that, with the current meta, he's definitely fighting an uphill battle here. The fact that, we traditionally know him as a little bit more of a carry, but you're going to have to stick more to those utilitarian type ADCs, whereas, Sneaky, that's his comfort zone. That's what he started on. To live.
Yeah, he started on Ashe, Zyra bot lane, like what's meta right now? What he started on, so I think those kinds of things are going to work really well for him.
All right, so of course, let's go back then to this CLG Team Liquid game, and in the context of the ADC, or rather bot lane discussions, you've got Afro Moose Stixay, right? Again, this is a solid duo here, right? If you're looking at last season, you're probably everyone's putting them in their top 3, if not top 1, top 2. I'm going to cut my own self short here because we're going to step away for a quick break while we resolve this technical issue on stage. Sorry for the delays. We'll return in just a few minutes. Stay with us. diligently to get it figured out. We brought Zyrene in here to help us break down a little bit of the action that's about to take place between these 4 teams up here behind us. And I want to kind of jump back into that ADC discussion that we were hitting before the break. But now I want to distill it down to the bot lanes itself, and in particular, this matchup here between CLG and Team Liquid. We've got Piglet, who you had placed in the B tier. We've got Stixxay, who you had placed in the A tier. But then if you look at the bot lanes respectively, Stixxay, Afromu. Probably at this point, with the loss of Doublelift, a lot of people would say, like, hands down, that's probably the best bot lane duo coming into the split. How do you think Piglet, Matt, one, will stack up against them, and what do you need to see tangibly from them in this series here today that will inspire some confidence, you know, about Piglet moving forward?
Well, I think this might be a little surprising here, but I actually don't want to see Piglet crush them in lane. I think, like, we know if you give Piglet a mechanically intensive AD carry who's lane dominant, he'll crush the lane. I want to see him be able to play the utility AD carries. I want to see them take an Ashe early and he does his job within the team, not go and draw way too much attention to bot lane, over trading when he doesn't need to. I want him to see him play his role. Because I think even expanding beyond just utility AD carries, we see things like Ziggs popping up. Like, what if that really becomes a meta pick in the bot lane? Will he be able to pick that up? It's not really what you would think, a safe sit back and throw Qs in laning phase. Like, will Piglet play that? Like, those are the kinds of things I want to see. Less so than is his skill good enough to compete? Because I think everyone here should know that Piglet's a really good AD carry.
Yeah, and do you think that's a goal for today or a goal for the season? Because Piglet, we know utility, he struggles a little bit, and he's good on those carries. So as a coach, this early on in the split, I would personally want to put him on something that he can carry on and then work in scrims and work off stage to actually get him up to speed on those utility. Is that like a goal for today?
Well, I don't think you want to put Piglet on these things to test him, you know, in a LAN environment. I think this is something he should have been practicing for a long time now, because utility AD carries have been around since summer. They were the main thing. Worlds, they're still the main thing. And if you haven't picked them up yet, then you start getting concerned. Because if you can't play them now, like, what, you need another 3 weeks? Is that really going to be the thing?
By then, the meta shifted back the other way anyway.
Who knows? Like, you need to be able to play them now. And if you can't play them now, and you spend 3 weeks playing suboptimal picks in the bot lane, that's a big concern for me.
Okay, but then, of course, we have to talk about Stixxay, Afromu on the other side being, as a complete duo, have a lot of built-in synergy. Of course, Matt and Piglet have experience playing together, but Piglet has gone through a number of supports. He's moving from the main team back down to the challenger team and then back up to the main team. Now, together, how would you like to see Matt and Piglet maybe work together to improve their bot lane synergy?
I mean, I think a big thing would be being able to set things up with the rest of the team. Team Liquid is a team that often plays through bot lane, and you want to be able to see them coordinate with Rainover. So when you have the Ashe and whatever support you're pairing up with the Varus, you want to combo that all with like a TP and Rainover coming in and making sure Matt's following up on all that. So I want to see the whole kind of team come together around bot lane, as opposed to like, oh my God, Piglet solo killed someone.
Yeah, and that was a little bit more of what happened in spring for Liquid. And then in summer, Matt kind of disappeared. Like, I was looking through people who had gotten players of the game, and there's only like 6 people who didn't have one, and one of them was Matt, which was rather surprising to me because he had like standout Bard performances in spring. He was actually wrecking people in the bottom lane and making plays, and it seemed like he lost his confidence a little bit. And I know that when Piglet was coming back to the roster, he was like, I want to play with Matt. I got to play with Matt. I'm not on the team unless I'm playing with Matt. And so he actually probably gives Matt a little bit of confidence there, because sure, they might give each other like a little bit of crap every now and then, but it's like, I do want to play with this guy. It's like, you know, it's a different kind of love, you know?
We want to see them succeed.
It's going to feel good when a former world champion is saying he wants to play with you, and it's going to inspire some confidence, especially from Matt as a shot caller. Hopefully it'll kind of bleed over. Let's talk about another interesting matchup here, is the fact that Rainover has made this transition over to Team Liquid. A lot of people are wondering, will he be just as successful as he was when he had that duo in Huni? Will he be able to establish the same kind of synergy with Lorlo? Because we do know that Lorlo worked very well with Dardoch, so that, you know, if the pairing of top lane jungler can work, it could be successful with Rainover as well.
Right. It's so funny when you look at both Team Liquid and Immortals, where they swap these junglers that are known for snowballing their top side of the map, and then one's still Lorlo, and now you have Flame on the top side. Like, it's just going to be so crazy to watch this, because it seems like the same style that they were playing last year, just on different teams, that they're going to do it now.
All right. Well, we have resolved the issue on NALCS 1 with CLG and Team Liquid, so we're going to go ahead and throw it back over there to get us into the game. NALCS 2 with EnVy and FlyQuest. You're going to stay with us for a little bit. We got to continue to break stuff down while we fix some stuff that's happening over there. So see you at NALCS 1, NALCS 2. let's go ahead and now then transition our conversation over to Envy and FlyQuest. We've already kind of hit the topic that, hey, Lyra is, I've got Riv in my ears right now. And he is loud.
He's an excited guy.
So if you want to get excited about League of Legends, go over to NALCS 1 where he's screaming his head off. If you want cool, calm, and collected analysis, you stick here with us. All right, so we talked about the fact that Lyra is out for the current moment, and of course that's going to hinder our ability to fully assess Envy's power level. But I do want to ask a similar question to you that I asked to Mark earlier, is that this trifecta of players now on the top side for Envy, when they do receive Lyra back in, Seraph, a strong performer, Ninja, and now with a strong jungler behind them, do you think that that trio will be enough to compete here in the NALCS and maybe make a bid for top 5 for this team?
I'm honestly unsure because Lyra, I know that he was kind of up and down, like he had some really good performances and then it was some really bad performances. So if he finds consistency on this team, that could be a very good thing for them. But when I think of Envy and I think of Seraph and Ninja, I think of guys who you don't know what you're going to get champion-wise. And also, we've heard the saying before, like, just because you can play a lot of champion doesn't mean they're in your champion pool. So we've seen things like Pantheon mid from Ninja. It's like, is that really in his champion pool? Because he pulls it out blind, not as a counter pick, and then he feeds like the most kills that we've ever seen. It's like,
everything's
what is going on, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is it's like a double-edged sword for them in champion pools, but consistency is the big thing. Like, I don't care how many champions they play, I just want to see Envy play well. I want to see these guys play well consistently.
Right. And kind of tying in with what you said about Lyra, the scary thing is you had this jungler who was a little inconsistent previously with these 2 inconsistent solo laners. You get this weird mix-up where, like, sometimes, you know, they're probably going to dominate and look really, really good, even against some good teams. And then you're going to have some performances where they look really, really bad. And it's going to be like, can they find the middle ground and be consistent?
All right, well, we've been on bated breath for long enough. It looks like we've resolved the issues in the battle theater, so we're going to send you back out to our casters to get us into the games. Guys, take it away.
Woo!
Thank you, Dash. The teams are ready. They're on stage, and let's jump right into Champion Select. Finally, Kobe, it's time to get started.
Back again. Champion Select. Yes, we would love that. Here we go. Some volume in my ears as well. Love that as well. All right. Yeah. I mean, these guys, we have been able to work out most of the kinks. Everybody's ready to go here. Just to recap, this is Envy versus FlyQuest now. Yes. We do have a lot of returning Cloud9 members. We have a lot of returning Envy members. That guy right there, Seraph. I mean, Seraph is a veteran of the North American LCS. He originally came over to play in CLG, and you know, had a lot of hard work working with different substitutes, different visa issues, people coming in. So he's had to deal with substitute players, and you know, the team doesn't work out right as you want at the beginning of the split before. So he's actually rolling with the punches really well. I talked to him a little bit during the pause here, and he's not fazed by it at all. He has full confidence in Ninja. Like I said, a lot of mid laners have to fill jungle roles in solo queue because mid lane is such a highly prized role. Well, here we go though.
I'm glad to see he's got that confidence in his mid laner slash jungler slash all around teammate, as we're already jumping in now to the ban phase. We've got Kha'Zix and LeBlanc banned away first and foremost.
All right, a jungler focus already here. Team Envy, we talked about it. They may have a different look at the bans. Right now, FlyQuest are going with the standard though. They are the red side, so probably follow up with some Camille. I'd rather let Rengar through than I would let Camille through, so save that one. And maybe there's an off chance, something else goes through. But I would just expect Team Envy to continue with these target bans. Kha'Zix is the first one, and then switching over to support role here.
It looks like it's actually going to be Team Envy that decides to take Rengar off the table. They want to make sure that they don't give FlyQuest the opportunity to move that around.
And it happens. Remember, we talk about, the expected is the Rengar, Camille, LeBlanc from red side. But remember, Envy are playing a mid laner as their jungler. So he might not have a lot of games on Rengar. Right? And as good as Rengar is, if you don't play the champion, if you don't have that history or anything, then maybe you don't feel comfortable first picking it. This is a first pick that I definitely expected from them. Flexible. They love flex picks. They always have loved flex picks, this team, and Malzahar can go mid or bottom.
Previously wasn't a flex pick, but now in this new day, this new age of League of Legends, we've been seeing a rise of him in the support role. He's going to be interesting depending on where they play him. And Rise, of course, is that last ban as well.
Yeah, and the other thing about Malzahar and why I really love him as a flex pick, because one of the supports that you really like to pick into Malzahar, if you think it's going to be that support Malzahar, which is the majority of the Malzahars are played in support role, you would want to pick up your Zyra, right? She's amazing support. She can harass him from long range. She can get past the Voidlings. So she's quite good against him. However, if you flex him to mid, you can then counter pick the Zyra with an MF support, which has to be, you know, picked after a Zyra and is only used as counter pick. So it's this tricky mind games here. Those are the 1, 2, 3 step process that we're talking about here with the multi-phase bans. But meanwhile, we're going to move along here. We'll revisit the Malzahar after those second ban phase and after Envy decides exactly what role he's going to go into.
In the meantime, it's FlyQuest going to go ahead and decide to go towards that top part of the map first and foremost with their rotations. Balls will be locking in the Maokai for himself as Moon picks up the lead.
And then meanwhile, we're already jumping ahead to Envy on the Jace going into the Malzahar, or into the Maokai, as well as one of those top tier 80 carries. We talked about it before the break at the very beginning, but the Ashe and Varus are the top two, and then slightly below them, the Jhin, and then Ezreal starts to come in, and there's those types of things. But if on one of these 80 carries, Ashe or Varus is picked up early, I feel like the other team just has to at least answer that role, because there are no other 80 carries that get pushed up onto that tier, and FlyQuest aren't going to let that happen, so they immediately answer. You know, the Ashe and the Varus are going to go head-to-head. I think we'll be seeing that matchup quite a lot on this patch.
And you have to expect that answer, considering now, for those of you who might not be used to this new system, might not be used to how 10 bans works, after those first 6 picks, now we're going to be entering into the second 4 bans, and expect these to be heavily targeted towards the roles that the enemy team has not yet selected for themselves.
All right, so that is looking at jungle there for Envy, still yet to be picked up. Actually, since I'm throwing out all the curveballs here for Envy, we can prep the jungle Malzahar. Still a possibility.
Okay.
Was definitely much more popular a couple months ago.
Right.
But if you're definitely thinking about, oh yeah, Envy really want to throw these curveballs, Jace's possibility of going mid and Malzahar's possibility of jungling is yet another little wrinkle. The reason we prep these kind of really far out there flexible picks is because Envy have actually done them, and they did them last year. A lot of those, you know, very less popular ones, let's say. Meanwhile, though, we have finished up the second ban phase. You can see there at the bottom of the screen. It was the mid lane target from Envy, and as we expected, the jungle targets from FlyQuest, resulting in that Corki pickup here for FlyQuest.
FlyQuest going to be grabbing that for themselves, and those specific bans in phase number 2, in case you didn't pick them up on your own, it's going to be Rek'Sai and Elise banned away by FlyQuest, Syndra and TF taken off the table, as Team Envy now has to think about what they're going to be doing for their final pick, locking in Orianna as number 4.
Yeah, so this Corki, because there is already a Varus on the table, you're thinking that that is probably going too high. Very strong mid laner at the moment right now, pushing and can get a little bit of a health and wave advantage. Once you get that package, you can try and make plays across the map. Hai is one of those guys. Yeah, his shot calling has always been highlighted, but he's also super aggressive in the mid lane, just laning phase, and then loves to roam around. He doesn't stay in that lane to dominate usually. He likes to take his presence and move elsewhere. The package for Corki would let him do that. Meanwhile, a very standard pickup there, and he'll be into the Orianna. And we have completed everything. The Malzahar will be standard support here, and Karma was picked instead of the... Zyra was already banned. That's why...
yeah, the Zyra got taken out
triple thing
way back at the start. So Zyra's out. Karma is in. Lemon Nation going to be playing that one. And, of course, the last pick that we didn't comment on, the one for Envy, Olaf there in the jungle. Ninja's going to be rocking that in his off role.
All right, so the Olaf, one of those reign over specials, is going to be in the hands of Ninja. And he has a decent amount of games on the Olaf there in solo queue at least, so... some practice there, and we'll see how Moon can perform on this Lee Sin, because a lot of eyes, as we said, are going to be on him to step up right back in the LCS. He's the newest member of that FlyQuest team that did play through Challenger with contracts, and now making their LCS debut.
For the first time in 2017, these two teams are going to be taking to the field. They both have something to prove. They're both looking to walk away with a win today, go up to that juicy 100% win rate that you can claim after your first game. We'll have to see which one of the two is actually capable of making that dream a reality. As you can see, the coaches shake hands, and we're just about to load into Summoner's Rift.
All right, so we need to catch up a little bit on this champ select because it went fairly quickly here. Seraph is running the Jace in the top side, and that is the champion. Remember, he is the shot caller up there. He's going to be split pushing, and he's always the one been managing that. So he's going to try and keep tabs there. Place Ninja in the correct places so that he can actually apply pressure up on the top side without, getting collapsed upon.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We are on to Summoner's Rift for the first time for both Team Envy and FlyQuest in 2017. Make some noise as these teams make their way out here and show us what they've got in their opening game of the split.
All right, let's see here. Fanning out across to the river, defensive openings. Doesn't look like we're going to have an early level one. Maybe possibility of a delayed invade. I also like to watch bottom usually if it's just fanning out like this because the mind games of who's sneaking into the brush first definitely do apply. You don't want to face check a Malzahar level 1 because Voidlings dropped on you can kill them, kill you pretty much all by themselves as they spawn their brethren. Not going to happen here though. Lemon Nation does check that brush with his Q.
We actually saw some of the consequences of that yesterday in the EU LCS with the face check into the Malzahar and the Voidlings blowing the flash so early. It was really scary.
Definitely true. Lemonation does get his ward, and he's claimed the bush. Also gets that first attack as well as gold in the bottom lane.
Just going to find a single auto attack there in terms of the damage. Of course, Hakuo's shield going to be blocking out the first part of that inner flame.
Meanwhile, while there was action technically on the bottom side, we did have Ninja sneak over, get that ward into the red buff. So he'll be alerted that Moon is starting red, but FlyQuest, aren't going to be caught unawares as he had to walk over a ward to place that one. So Moon knows that Ninja knows that he's starting on the red side, and both junglers on the top side. Olaf very clearly definitely needs to start blue. There are some strategies where you can start on a red buff and do something a bit risky early on, but blue is so much safer, much higher percentage start for him because he really does gain so much clear speed for it. But here we go, that's that aggressive mid lane style we're talking about.
Hai and Alex each already trading blow for blow back and forth here in the mid lane, even at level 1. They're looking to get that early edge over their opponents, just find any kind of an advantage they can take.
Meanwhile, as we track Ninja, Olaf does get low in the jungle, and Moon looking to take advantage of him already as he has slipped in Lee Sin and stealing the red buff right now. You can't see it, but he's just been able to get it and gets out in time.
Blast Cone, baby, gets himself out over the wall, gonna be perfectly safe. Moon makes his escape, grabs that buff, and he's heading right back into his own jungle, just a little bit better off.
Yeah, straight buff to buff there. Want to get that just in time. There's two options there. You can try and go for the kill as well. Olaf, as you said, does get low, and we have a trade in the mid lane. Does burn his summoner very early there for Hai to get some extra damage. And yeah, he did, win that trade, but down the exhaust now if he does get ganked.
Hakuo going to be eating a little bit of damage down here in the bottom part of the map. Lemon Nation now backing himself away as Apollo and Hakuo doing a pretty good job for themselves so far. They've got, of course, a slight CS advantage for the time being very early on in this lane. Going to be shoving that one up and taking control of the bottom part of the map.
Yep, Hakuo and Apollo have the wave advantage. Malzahar getting that harassment down. Now, we have seen, I'd say the majority of Malzahars are maxing the Voidlings first, but you can also max the E. And a couple of players have done that as well for the guaranteed harass, especially if it is range versus range and you're not expecting super close all-ins, but we'll see here. I'm still expecting Voidling max as they are incredibly powerful, and that's where most of the support Malzahar power does come from.
See the ping coming out now in the top part of the river from the blue side. Going to be pinging Ninja towards that Scuttle Crab. Moon's already hanging around there though too. Might see a little bit of a contest back and forth between these two over this area. Moon's going to be the one who gets the jump on Ninja. There comes your Sonic Wave. Resonating Strike. Not quite going to be doing it just yet. Jumping back in. Ninja trying to get himself away. If Moon can find the damage here, not quite going to be there just yet. Hai's going to be jumped on. Get ready, Phosphorus Bomb being turned around. FlyQuest looks to get their guys out of trouble. Alex Each again, this time to be forced to flash away. Sonic Wave, Resonating Strike, Phosphorus Bomb.
One more Q.
Fly needs one more. Can he find it? Answer's gonna be no. FlyQuest misses their chance, and somehow Alex is alive.
Chaos there as Olaf, if he gets caught by Lee Sin down a level with Lee Sin having double buffs, very very scary. And you could see he was so close to death there because Olaf does not run a flash. But man, he was able to escape using that blast cone. That was the only thing that was going to save his life there, is just able to not only get the jump, but he also had to knock away Moon as well with that. Just getting the jump makes it very easy for Lee Sin to land his Sonic wave, and he actually was able to knock him away at the same time, so that follow-up wasn't there. But man, Alex almost ended up paying the price for that little mayhem that we had going up the river. In the end, first blood's still available though.
Yeah, it's 5 minutes into this game, and we have already seen 2 clutch blast cones. One for each side. One got Moon away after the steal, one got Ninja away after that tussle in the top part of the river. So the Season 7 plan really making their impact so far in this game as Hakuo continues to shove this bottom lane wave up into Elimination and the rest of FlyQuest's faces.
All right, let's see how Ninja gets back on track here on Olaf. Remember, he is a level down versus Lee Sin, and Lee Sin is actually quite good in that matchup. If Olaf is low, you know, you can catch him with the execute damage. Meanwhile, it's all about, you know, extra vision though, because Olaf is no slouch in the 1 versus 1. And if he's heading into it with full health, he can fend for himself just nicely.
Ninja going to be grabbing this bottom lane Scuttle Crab, bottom side of the map, I should say, Scuttle Crab, to help his team. Because, you know, if you've got your bottom lane constantly shoving up like we've seen Apollo and seen Hakuo doing, grabbing the Scuttle Crab keeps him safe.
And look at that vision game, as we're talking about it. You know, we've got a lot of vision down there. Pink wards included around that mid lane, because Alex had to burn both summoners in this game already because of all the chaos. So a lot of extra support here around that mid lane to make sure that they can get him through this phase until his escape summoners come back up, and he can try to play a little bit more aggressive.
Team working together nicely just to make sure that they don't put him in any sort of a hot spot that he does not want to be in. Alex East also now has the ultimate up and running, going to be exhausted. There comes your play. Moon's looking to make it happen. Can they do it? Yes, they can. First blood for High.
Not safe enough. Getting hugged down on the bottom side. Didn't hug by his pink wards, and right in the middle of the lane. Really good heads-up play there by Moon. Revisits the summonerless mid laner. Orianna gets taken out pretty easily as High uses his exhaust for that extra slow as well. And FlyQuest grabbed that first blood.
Great job from Moon. He had the ultimate in time, and now it's going to be Balls in instant trouble. Axes cut down trees, and Ninja's going to be finding kill number 2 this game. Ties it all up.
There it is. Ninja answers very quickly here right off the bat. Meanwhile, Moon does have extra information. He just saw Ninja up on the top side, immediately invades down here on the bottom. It was past a couple of wards though, so don't think he'll be able to get much done as Envy do collapse and defend Ninja's jungle.
Envy says, you know, you fool us once, that's our fault, but you try to do it again, this is not going to end up happening, as now Elimination going to be on the wrong receiving end of some of those Voidlings, running himself away as the Malefic Visions tick away. Gets himself back, another Blast Cone usage. Not necessarily imperative this time, but sometimes they're just fun to use.
Voidlings, super dangerous, tongues wagging. Able to get away right there though. And Ninja still just trying to catch back up in experience. Now he is equalized. Still a little bit of a lead for Moon, but not a full level, so at least he has access to that ultimate and a bit more ability to you know, escape situations where he is surrounded. High being handed over that blue buff, and the skin here with some extra shiny missiles for Corki in this version.
Skin is so cool looking. I really like that Corki skin, and now that he's got the blue buff, now that he's got level 6 as well, those rockets are just going to be pouring into mid.
Mid lane definitely still going to be, you know, hotbed for action. However, Alex's summoners are coming back up, so maybe it is Envy who gets to turn something around. As you can see, the vision is still split with FlyQuest top side double pink and Envy bottom side that High's trying to clear out now. As we said, High does like to roam around quite a lot and wants to use that package. Those shining missiles there for Corki, but it looks like it's going to time out, and he isn't able to make use of that one.
It's the problem with the package. Sometimes you just can't find a good delivery spot for it. You got to wait for the next one to come up. But meanwhile, it's actually going to be Moon who looks towards his first Drake, trying to make that happen solo. Alex each absorbing some of the burst from High here in this mid lane, showing exactly what he can do with that blue buff. And it looks like Envy's going to be none the wiser as Moon picks up a free objective for his team.
Yeah, big pickup there with the first Drake. And High, that aggressive mid lane style we're talking about, is able to abuse it with Corki jumping in continuously onto Alex. Knowing that he now has his flash back up for High, he's going for these little bit riskier plays. And man, that's right into the face.
High, very brave, very audacious. His elimination going to be bound up. Ninja looking to turn things around. Flash away from the shockwave. High's going to turn that one right back in their faces. Envy drops their jungler.
Beautiful bait there by High. Catches Ninja unawares, and that's that execute damage we talk about. High got him with the Phosphorus Bomb as well as auto attack combo, and then Moon gets to reactivate Q for a bunch of extra damage. They take him out before he can even react, and that means this mid lane pressure is rolling straight through the mid turret.
FlyQuest doing an awesome job himself so far, but it's going to be balls jumped on yet again topside. Does not matter though. High's going to grab turret first blood.
They are surrounding him. Hako's headed up. He just uses ultimate in the bottom lane though, so not really much you're going to be able to get there. And High is actually safe, not blowing any summoners, and pick up the last minion wave as well. All right, so let's take another look at this semi-risky play, but as I said, his flash just came back up, so that's why High's playing so aggressively yet again. And he baits Ninja in here, even though they have the Orianna Shockwave, easily flashes it, and then the turnaround combo there. Again, Olaf, main weakness, not a flash jungle champion, so once he gets baited in, pretty easy to land those, and Moon does land his Q, so able to follow up there and get the extra kill. FlyQuest with a nice early lead for themselves here versus Envy.
High and Moon showing some awesome teamwork there too, always being able to make these plays happen, seeing what they can do, getting themselves ahead, 18.1 to 16.5 thousand gold, so a modest lead, 11.5 minutes in.
Well, meanwhile, in the bottom lane, there is still that CS lead. We visited early the pushing power there of the Ashe and Malzahar that Apollo and Hako are using. Slight CS lead for themselves down there, and those are two of the guys. Uh-oh, he does get snared up, though.
As Apollo's going to find himself caught out. Chain of Corruption lands 100%. There comes the counter attack. Hako will not be there in time to keep that 80 carry alive. Seraph looking to make his way in. Not going to find elimination just yet, as that ends up being a 1-for-0 so far. High in the back lines, trying to snipe somebody else off if he can, but that's going to be it for now. Moon. Nope. Go ahead and bail.
And that's actually a really good position for FlyQuest to use the teleports here. Both teleports are burned, but the wave up top pushing into the turret of Envy, so they're not going to lose out there. That wave is going to bounce off the turret, plus FlyQuest have pressure in mid, and they get to push in on the bottom side as well. That being said, Seraph on Jace, as you would expect, he's grinding down this Maokai, he's earning this CS lead, and this is a bit bigger of a CS lead than I would expect even with a Jace vs Maokai matchup, though you do expect the Jace to get that extra damage and extra CS bullying him pretty early on. But let's take another look at this as the 80 carries do trade ultimates after Lemonation already caught him. And Lemonation is able to finish the kill. Plus, with that flash, able to avoid the damage, able to escape with his life, and a pretty big pickup right there. Envy trying to fight back, but Moon's already moving into their jungle and laying down these deep wards to see any of those comeback plays that Envy are trying to come up with.
I really like these aggressive moves coming out from FlyQuest, looking to use this advantage they've built for themselves so far. And the biggest thing standing out to me right now, if you look across the bottom part of your screen at those item builds, the first big item we see coming online is Trinity Force for High, and that is a huge power spike.
Yes, sir. Yeah, classic Trinity Force power spike coming in. He's also almost level 11. Moon gets hit with the arrow.
Gonna be finding himself caught out, tries to jump away to safety, but Ninja is just rampaging. Gonna be finding one. Not quite going to be able to make it two just yet. Fly High trying to mount some kind of a counterattack, but not going to get it just yet. Ninja gets himself away alive, but it's going to be a 1-for-0. Moon going down, and Envy punishing some of that aggro with a nice snipe from Altec. From downtown, he secures that blue buff.
Yep, able to secure the blue buff. Going for some harassment on Apollo as well, but I'm able to land that one. I mean, High does have his package yet again, and he actually didn't use it going into the jungle there because they don't have too much deep vision, but then made a half roam down bottom. Wanted to see if Seraph would stay extended, but Seraph also recognizes and backs off in the bottom lane. Now he's going aggressive with his red buff and chunking down balls once again.
Also thought he was in kind of a troublesome spot earlier. Now that Seraph's got the red buff up and running, it's going to be that much harder. Altec going to be using that Chain of Corruption top side, forces Apollo to flash away from it, so a little bit less safety for him now.
Yeah, always great value there. Nicely aimed and does force the flash. Ashe now a very vulnerable target. He has the heal to rely upon as Malzahar is also out of Exhaust Summoner. Could get spicy up here.
See what the junglers decide to do about that. Both of these junglers have opted into a Tracker's Knife as well. Going to be prioritizing a lot of that vision, which you can see a lot of now in the northern part of the EnVy jungle.
And we have to keep, reiterating here. Seraph, he's going super aggressive. He's bullying this Maokai and getting a CS lead, but then he keeps backing off as soon as High starts to roam. Because Seraph knows High's playstyle. As soon as he leaves mid lane, looking to make a play on the other side of the map, and Seraph's sort of tempered aggression has been able to keep it safe so far, but now the Drake is spawning, and he's outnumbered heavily on this bottom side of the map. So EnVy, I think, 100% give away this Drake, and it's going to have to be Seraph escaping here, where there's, oh, he's not going to be able to escape. Cancel the recall, and I might be able to grab it.
Oh, this is not going to be good news. Seraph tries to fling himself up into the air, at least take somebody with him, but it is not happening. FlyQuest, they're going to take the kill and the dragon.
Stays a little bit too long that time. Tried to recall in the brush, but Balls went to go check, found him out, and not only are they going to give up that dragon, which they pretty much 100% already had to give up, but they are going to be trading the turrets as well here. So mid lane push developing for FlyQuest as they want to get even more pressure, and EnVy are forced to recall.
Going to take the FlyQuest gold advantage up to about 2,500 now with a 4-2 kill advantage, 2-1 turret advantage, and of course, 2-0 on the Drakes.
And especially if you look at the team comp here for FlyQuest, they have such an early sieging power spike that Trinity Force you talk about with Corki is a huge part of it. But Varus, very good early siege as well. He's got this Essence Reaver for a lot of extra mana, and he will be going with the Q max build in this iteration, so he's already got that piercing arrow up to level 5, and they can group very early on, use this early gold advantage to try and snowball. Infernal Drake spawning next is huge for FlyQuest in continuing to snowball this game.
Between the piercing arrows and the rockets from Corki and the inner flames from the Karma, it's a lot of stuff to have firing at yourself, and it's going to be very difficult for EnVy to weather that storm.
Very true. And we got to look at it from EnVy's point of view here. Apollo is the man to make the play. They have to get some pick here. Hakuo, yeah, he does have Malzahar ultimate, but that requires a member of Fly face checking. So most reliable thing, nab somebody with the Ashe Arrow and try and get some picks to get back into this game. They're trying to get that first step done with the vision, so you can fire your Ashe Arrow from the Fog of War, increasing your chances of hitting so they don't have as much time to react. But EnVy now definitely getting a little bit more desperate as they look for one of these numbers advantage picks so they can try and get some gold back in their pockets.
Coming this far into enemy territory, though, just got to make sure they're careful about doing that. Every chance they push up, they're again putting themselves in danger for maybe Moon or Balls or even Altec with his ulti to make some kind of a play.
Definitely true. They have to be very careful right now because, yes, FlyQuest have a pretty good lead right now, but it hasn't snowballed really out of control yet. Once this next Drake does spawn and the Infernal comes up, if EnVy contests it and die plus giving it away, that becomes, and Ninja actually might be right.
Real close. Not going to be done, though. The heal from Apollo thrown out clutch to keep that jungler alive. They will lose the tier 2.
That's some more gold, and it continues to grow here for FlyQuest. Very quick game here. As we talk about the returning members, this is a classic of High and the classic of Cloud9 when he was on the team. When they get an early lead, it's constant objective to objective to objective right across the map. Boom. Mid lane secondary turrets down. They meet up with the second push down bottom. This one almost goes down. Huge amount of damage on it, and they are not letting up.
Absolutely not. FlyQuest has no intention of allowing their opponents any sort of breathing room. They're not going to be going back until they're forced back. And right now, that responsibility is on EnVy to try to find some kind of a way to force them out. Shock Blast finds its way there, but it's not doing a lot.
Yeah, exactly. The problem for EnVy is that they kind of need FlyQuest to lose track of the Orianna ball because the only initiation for EnVy is the bottom lane, right? The Olaf running straight at this team will just get melted. So it has to be Ashe Arrow and Malzahar ultimate used as, sort of offensive tanking there, where you use that crowd control to deny the incoming damage. Not able to find a spot where they can get an arrow past Maokai, so they just try and hold on here, farm up some minions, and we fully expect FlyQuest to push the tempo again.
And as this game is going on, we're starting to see a couple of more items come online. A lot of armor penetration for Seraph. The Black Cleaver into the last Whisper going to be looking to break through that front line, break through that Maokai, and see if he can make any kind of a dent in these guys.
Definitely think that Seraph and Apollo are the two guys here for Envy that do have a chance to try and turn this game around. Those are the two. There's a lot of pressure on them because Seraph has a lot of the gold, and then Apollo has to make the crucial pick there to try and get them right back. But FlyQuest, immediately, they turn their sights towards the last outer turret. Should be the easiest one to knock over for them. And again, we mentioned the siege, you mentioned all those poke abilities that they're going to use. And they're coming through here as they focus up on the top side. High, doing most of it by himself, actually, and Arrow misses.
Arrow's not going to be finding anybody. High has to back himself up just a little bit. You saw his package expire there just a moment ago, so that's not going to be available for this fight as Moon looks for some kind of an angle, but isn't going to be finding it just yet. The push continues. This turret, so very close to death.
Yeah, Seraph down in the bottom lane is actually going to trade turrets, I would opt for, because when you're down like this, the best call you can make is actually just to trade objectives. You can't really take that heads-up fight, especially if you're getting poked out beforehand by all of these missiles and arrows that are coming through. This is something that you do have to go contest, though. And luckily for Envy, they've got a ward here, so they can call through the teleport of Seraph. They're waiting a while, though.
They've got to make some kind of a move on this one. TP's going to be channeled, all tech bound up, ultimate use. Hakuo looking to stop him. Ninja looking to get in there if he can. It's going to be Hakuo exploded first. Why? Winning this fight. Alex Each exploded. Ninja's going to be exploded almost. One more rocket's got him. A killing spree for High. The last shock blast not going to be finding anyone. They might not have got that Baron, but they got 3 for nothing.
Oh man, yeah, this is definitely a High shot calling at its finest, right? They don't hesitate. Yeah, it's only 21.5 minutes, right? But they force this because they need to keep the tempo up, and they're just expanding on their lead here. They force the teleport out of Seraph. They pull this Jace back over to the Baron pit. They immediately turn on them as well. Key is that you don't stay DPSing the Baron when you see this. Immediate call there. They get off the Baron. Balls here on the Maokai, playing that front line, is able to zone off a lot of the damage while they take down Hakuo for the first kill. And even though that was a great ultimate from Alex, he got 3 in the shockwave. Super good kick there from Moon, by the way, on Lee Sin to finish up this team fight. And FlyQuest don't lose a single person in that fight, using the Baron just to bait in Envy to try and have one of those gold advantage 5-on-5s for themselves, and then finally pick up the Infernal Drake.
Infernal Drake going the way of FlyQuest, and like you've mentioned so many times already, no flash for the Olaf. He's got no way to get in there, no way to try to contest that except maybe throwing an axe over the wall, but I'm pretty sure Moon's Smite is going to be keeping that nice and safe.
Yeah, it definitely would be a suicide steal. So many times, too, we've seen Olaf pop the Ragnarok just to run through, because you can pop it and be immune to CC, but you can't go immune to damage, and he just gets burned down. In fact, you take more damage when you pop it, so it would be super duper risky. Yeah, their only option was to go for the fight. They tried to make the call to go for the fight, but well played by FlyQuest, and they are able to keep this ball rolling.
And we talked during the Champion Select and even before the Champion Select about this game, about how these guys are LCS veterans, even if the team itself is not an LCS staple name. And High is showcasing this team's ability to be decisive and pull that trigger time and time and time again, and I'm really liking how cutthroat this team looks.
That's why this is one of the guys that just keeps coming back. Roll after roll, you know, team after team. He's able to play through Challenger, back in the LCS once again. Here's the double pink-warded Baron, starting it up. They do get hot-shotted.
Are discovered. FlyQuest got to be careful about this one. High's going to be peeling out, providing some kind of an escape. Alex each eating a couple of rockets, and FlyQuest decides it's not worth it, not right now. Going to be backing themselves away.
That's right. And Envy fans, you know, don't despair. This is definitely you guys playing with a sub. So, you know, not the ideal situation, but some things have gone well for them. You know, Seraph was able to abuse this Jace matchup as expected. And the bottom lane also able to abuse their matchup a little bit in the early game before the rest of FlyQuest did collapse. But aside from that, they have not been able to keep up with the tempo here of FlyQuest. Right after the early invades, they have rolled right through, starting with that mid lane and high pushing, and they've just kept it going ever since. Now we have a moment of respite where they go back to purchase, and QSSs will start to come in. Even that, Ash Arrow and Malzahar ultimate seem less and less likely to turn this game around as Hai got his eye on the enemy win conditions and starts to eliminate them.
It's a great itemization pickup. I mean, honestly, if the enemy team's win condition is stun out Hai, and Hai can no longer be stunned out, got a little bit of an issue there for Envy trying to find some way to win this. Moon, Dead Man's Plate up and running means he's going to have a lot more ability to close distance and position himself properly to make a big kick. The next fight starts, but now it's going to be Baron yet again.
I like how they're just leaving the Scrying Orb trinket there as well. It's turned off by the control ward, so you don't even need to kill it. And it gives 0 warning to the enemy. Even if they had warning, it would still be super dangerous, as we've already seen, for them to go contest. So they give it up, and I actually go for the pick.
Package gonna be delivered, QSS used, Hakuo deleted, and FlyQuest, third time is the charm. They've got the Baron, they've got the pick onto one of the enemy players. Envy running their AD carry and their top laner away for dear life. Moon's looking to follow this, but he's gotta be careful. Rest of the team not exactly nearby if he overextends into this one, but Envy has no response.
Yeah, not even defensive use there. Hai immediately picks up the QSS, maybe 30 seconds later activates it as he goes in with the package. This man definitely still has it. And it looks like FlyQuest marching their way to a very strong victory in game 1. They're looking for another pick, and Seraph gets himself out.
Running away yet again, Apollo again going to be using that heal to keep an ally alive. That time might not have needed it 100%, but wanted to be safe rather than sorry. FlyQuest continues mounting the pressure in this bottom part of the map. Gonna be split pushing with High mid lane. One more auto attack from the minion takes down that inhibitor turret, and now the inhib itself wide open.
All right, they've got bottom lane pushing as well. Baron empowered cannon minions are doing their work. FlyQuest taking down 2 points at once as the inhibitor starting to take some damage from High's Trinity Force as well.
High's got balls there right with him, making sure he keeps him protected. There comes your enchanted crystal arrow. QSS or not, he's gonna be safe. Alex Each has to flash himself away, just trying to stay alive. Moon's gonna be taken low. Ninja, Guardian Angel is up and running, but he doesn't want to lose it for free. Inhibitor's gonna fall, and FlyQuest finds their mark and gets the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah, a little bit low on HP after that one, so they're going to go purchase after everything that they've been playing. Remember, they were able to weaken a little bit that bottom lane inhibitor turret, and the super minions going up the mid lane will help them out a lot with revisiting that objective. 1 minute on this Cloud Drake, which they should also be able to add to their collection.
And they have a really nice collection so far. 3 Drakes compared to 0 for FlyQuest. 3 different ones, of course. They're not exactly stacking the same bonuses of any kind, but after the Baron, after that massive push into the enemy base, FlyQuest enjoys not only a dragon advantage, but an over 7,000 gold advantage. They got 4 more turrets than their opponents. Any metric you want to measure the state of this game by, FlyQuest is doing it, and they're doing it big.
Yes, sir. Definitely a good start for them. Remember that it is against a substitute team, but man, really like the opening here. High is 4-0-2 on this Corki. He's been pushing all game long, has had control for the entirety of the game. Moon's been, bullying out Ninja as his early wards placed have helped him make some counter plays onto Ninja and take away a lot of the jungle threat, enabling High to play that aggressive style. It's really come together quite nicely for them. And that mid and jungle really carrying them thus far.
Here we go again with the 4-1 split push. It's going to be High in the bottom lane, being the one who has to fare on his own, seeing if he can take care of this. And it's not even going to be a question anymore. We're not seeing if he will. We're watching him do it. We're bearing witness to High's amazing ability to take over and completely take control of a game. Inhibitor number 2 now under pressure as the top lane tier 2 is going to be completely surrendered. Envy will give that one away, no contest, as now it's their final standing inhibitor turret that will be under pressure top lane as the inhibitor takes blow after blow bottom side. Seraph can't fight for this.
Yeah, it's going to go down in front of his face. Balls gets ulted.
They're going to blow a lot on balls, including the Orianna ball itself, but he's still going to throw it away. Alex H deleted. Now can they find anything else? Moon's gonna be popped. They're gonna take down balls as well. 2 for 1. They grab the GA on Ninja though, and Fly's coming into the backside. He's gonna grab Seraph. Looking to make even more happen. Alltech not gonna get the piercing arrow. Who needs it? Double kill for High, and FlyQuest, ladies and gentlemen, they're on to the Nexus turret. They're gonna be on to the Nexus, and that is gonna be game 1 in this series. Going to the old school Cloud9 squad, the new age FlyQuest boys. This is a team.
Yes, they are. And the Nexus turret going down. What an explosive victory here for FlyQuest. Just barely over 30 minutes, and they're going to take game number 1.
FlyQuest has got to be feeling ecstatic about that. There was no point in the game where it looked like they were losing control. There was no point in the game where you were like, I wonder if FlyQuest is going to end up doing something wrong with this. It was just one after the other, after the other, after the other. Good calls into good plays.
Definitely so. Kept up the tempo all game long, and a lot of it did, come from the mid lane and from the jungle. There were a couple good plays there from Envy. Visit to the top lane. Seraph was pulling balls. They had Ninja come in. They were able to get a kill there, but not able to put a stop to the momentum that FlyQuest built so early on.
FlyQuest has definitely shown themselves to be the team to look out for in this series, at least. They showed Envy what they were made of in game number 1. And going into game number 2, Envy's going to have to kind of revamp the strategy a little bit.
Yeah, definitely true. We'll see what else Ninja does have in his bag of jungle champion pool, because this one was definitely a little bit risky. And Moon abused him with the Lee Sin, a lot more mobility. Went in there with an early counter jungle, buff to buff. He saw you ward on my red buff. So he knew that the Olaf would be unsuspecting. Red buff to red buff is a very long distance to traverse, the longest for a jungler in the early game. So it's one of the least expected moves. Because Moon did have that ward though and saw the entry, he knew that it would be unexpected and a high percentage play, and he was able to pull it off.
Talking about big moves here, we've got a replay of the 22-minute 3-0 Baron fight that Fly managed to pull off.
All right, let's take a look again. This was the Baron play where they just wanted to get out the teleport and then immediately turn. You can see Maokai's tanking the Baron, so they didn't even get anyone low before the fight. Hakuo goes in and he does ult Altec and had a bunch of Void Leagues on him, but no follow-up damage, and he's pretty much by himself, so he goes down first. Good shockwave from Alex, but High is putting out so much AoE damage on this Corki, and no one can really get past Maokai after that. Moon had that pretty good kick there for the knockout, and even though they actually got a couple low there, some good shockwaves on the end from Seraph to hit backline members, nobody was able to get the execute, so pretty big snowball there for Cloud9. And as you said, the shot calling really complemented their early game lead as they were able to take objectives very quickly right after that.
And every time they went to the Baron, even though we didn't see them take it until the 3rd attempt, those first 2 attempts, it never looked like they were in any real danger. They always made the plays happen. They always did what they needed to do. And right now, we're going to be taking a quick break while FlyQuest and Envy strategize for round 2. But before we go, Cyrene gave us a look at some of the preseason changes hitting the Rift.
Who will make the most of the changes coming in the North American LCS 2017 Spring Split, and why? Let's start at the top. Top lane tanks are all the rage with the addition of Courage of the Colossus, the mastery that gives a 4-second shield and scales with the number of enemies around you has made champions like Poppy, Nautilus, and Maokai absolute monsters. Big tanks bring extended team fights, so long-standing teams with strong competitive synergy like TSM, Cloud9, and Counterlogic Gaming should benefit from their team fighting experience. But tanks aren't all we'll see up top. With 10 bans on the table, it's only a matter of time before champion pools get tested. Hard carry champions like Fiora, Kled, and the new backline diver Camille offer both precision and destruction, with import veterans like Looper and Someday bringing over their deep champion pools. They'll challenge the newly stacked group of top laners in the NALCS. In the jungle, with more gold per camp and longer respawns, champions with quick clears and early gank potential like Rek'Sai, Lee Sin, and Rengar are top-tier picks. High damage, item-dependent champions like Kha'Zix, Nocturne, and Hecarim are also tearing it up across the Rift. So, NALCS junglers with aggressive mindsets like Dardoch or Svenskeren can spring ahead early with these explosive champions and carry their teams to victory, whereas mechanically gifted up-and-comers like a Nori and Contracts can use them to earn their place at the top. Over in the mid lane, it's all about control. Mages like Cassiopeia, Victor, Ryze, and Syndra create lots of pressure through their wave control, and skilled mid laners like Bjergsen, Pobelter, and Jensen will use them to translate that pressure into distinct advantages around other parts of the map. It's likely a lot of these strong control mages will get locked out in the new 10-man system, and then we'll see the hard-hitting assassins. Katarina and Fizz may have a weak early game, but they quickly become powerful enough to pose a real threat. Some assassins, like LeBlanc and Echo, have both ample wave clear and the raw power to obliterate enemy champions. It'll be fun to see the mid laners like Ninja, Keen, and Hai utilize assassins and other unconventional champion picks to gain an edge against the elite control mages. In the bot lane, nerfs to early game builds have changed the landscape for marksmen. There's a heavy emphasis on utility carries like Ashe, Jhin, and Varus, as they contribute great initiation tools while ramping up. Sneaky and LCK Import Arrow have a leg up on these utility ADCs, while veterans Wild Turtle and Piglet could be challenged with the move away from lane-dominant marksmen. As for supports, they've got more options than ever. The introduction of Redemption brought major benefits to healing and shielding supports like Nami and Karma, whereas the new Rylai's changes have popularized some unlikely mage supports like Malzahar and bolstered others like Zyra and Brand. Seasoned support Aphromu has already proven his prowess and ability to carry a game. Now, rising stars like Smoothie, Matt, and Biofrost have the opportunity and the tools to join Afro center stage and skyrocket their teams to victory. More bans, more strategy, more diversity. It all starts here at the 2017 NALCS Spring Split.